Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Ed Randall's Talking Rams. Here on this video series, we are paying tribute to those men and women, members of the Athletic Hall of Fame, who distinguished themselves on the field of play and brought honor to Fordham University. We hope you'll pass the word about this series to all your friends in the Fordham community and have them tune in. We continue our series of conversations with a 2003 inductee into our Hall of Fame, who could be found on Jack Coffey Field almost always on base as one of the most prolific hitters in school history. A 1997 graduate of Fordham College, he closed out his career as a consensus All-American and was named to 5 different All-America teams after batting an astounding .493, the best in Division I. In all, he set 13 single-season or career records. He was Fordham's first Atlantic 10 Player of the Year and received the Lombardi Award given to our top athlete. We welcome back to Fordham one of our baseball greats, Mike Marchiano. Mike, it's so great to have you with us. You were born in Brooklyn. Tell us about your life before Fordham.
Yeah, so pretty interesting. Grew up in Brooklyn with my parents and my brother. And one day, my dad came home from work and saw my brother and I playing wiffle ball and catching footballs in the street, and came into my mom and said, "Well, we can't do this. We can't have our kids running between cars, catching passes and fly balls." So my dad and my mom, we decided to move out to the suburbs of New Jersey, to Oak Ridge, New Jersey, about 30 miles outside the city, and left New York. But I got here. I was, I think, in third grade. My brother was in fifth grade, and from there, my athletic career kind of got going.
I read in preparation for our interview that you started playing at age 5, taking batting practice from your dad in the driveway.
Yeah, my dad would come home from work, and obviously now as a father coming home, you're tired after work, but he would throw us batting practice, whatever it took, and sometimes long nights until it got dark outside, hitting a baseball.
Did it always come easy to you?
You know, I wouldn't say easy. It's just I picked up things really fast. Having an older brother playing sports and being good as well. It was always you happen to learn the game quicker, whether it was basketball, football, baseball. But I noticed at a young age that hitting was something that kind of came natural.
You were to become, after moving to New Jersey, a 4-sport star. You were all-state in baseball. You won a state baseball championship, but you came to Fordham on a football scholarship. Uh, did you have any intention of playing baseball?
Actually, no, it's a crazy story. And so, growing up in New Jersey, I had success at an early age in high school. I was able, as a freshman, to get on the field and start as a baseball player. Uh, Had a great, freshman year of college, which led into freshman year of high school, which led into sophomore year of college. That's when things really progressed. That summer going into my sophomore year, I had a tremendous football season that sophomore year, on the football field, getting all state honors as a 15-year-old kid. So my whole life became, I'm going to play football. And it really started out at a young age, started to get heavily recruited at an early age. Baseball was always a favorite sport of mine, but you know at first football would garnish a lot of things. So not many people realize this, but I had no intention of even playing baseball in college. A lot of times during high school, many coaches would visit the school, and uh, which kind of leads into the baseball stuff. After that sophomore year, I was taking all visits to college to be a college football player from Penn State, NC State, down the line. All big Power Five schools. And then my life kind of changed drastically as a young kid. Uh, the start of my junior year in high school, after having a lot of, success, baseball and football, and really getting a lot of attention from schools. My first game, my junior year of high school, uh, I tore my ACL in my knee on a play, and that as a young kid was very devastating. I missed pretty much most of my whole junior year of high school after having so many people started to recruit you and going through that experience as a kid, and then all of a sudden everything calms down to see if I'm ever going to be okay to play again. So when it came down to looking at schools, a lot of big schools that have made scholarship offers early on kind of backed away, especially when you're not doing anything for 8, 9 months. So it was a tough experience to go through as a kid, but obviously it came to fruition.
But when you're talking about big schools here, we're talking about Notre Dame, and we're talking about Stanford. We're talking about the best of the best. And the story goes, Mike, that the school tried to keep your injury quiet, and that you actually tried to play on it. But as you said, the big schools backed away.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had a doctor in New Jersey that reached out to me and said, "You're going to be okay." And to experience that as a kid, I had a fully torn ACL, right? So football is kind of tough to get back. Back then, there was really no protocol when an athlete got hurt. It could have been 8 months, 12 months, 15 months. So here I am trying to get ready for a season, and all these schools are visiting, and it's tough to keep something like that quiet. And essentially, when it got down to the recruiting process, a lot of schools backed away, and I didn't play baseball my whole junior year of high school. And that sophomore year, they had myself and a couple other players in the Northeast ranked in the top baseball players. But now here I am not playing, and I'm watching all my friends starting to get drafted, started to get signed with bigger schools, and things really slowed up. And we got to a point where you know Fordham came around and really stepped up and said, regardless, I want you to come here. And the great Larry Glick, the former football coach, recruited me, and but no intention to play no intention to play baseball.
Through the years, through all the remaining years of your athletic career, did the knee bother you? Did it
No,
affect you playing
no, and
baseball?
actually, getting through 2 seasons of college football and 6, 7 years of playing professionally baseball, knock on wood, a lot of diving, a lot of sliding, even till today, all is well.
But the rehabilitation, you got back in 6.5 months after this devastating injury. The prediction was it would take 8 months. You were a fast healer.
Yeah, I had to convince my doctor my senior year of high school that I want to give this a go. And he said, really, you shouldn't be ready until December. And it was, mid-September, my senior year. But I knew I had to show someone that I could get back on the field. And more importantly, if it didn't work out for football, I needed to show people I could play, in the spring for baseball as well.
And you played baseball only in your junior and senior years.
Junior year, I couldn't play anything because of the surgery.
I
And then,
mean, I mean,
yeah, my
right.
senior
You
year,
played
yeah, I
just your
wound
senior
up,
year.
I did something different my senior year. I finished this football season, had a great season, and then I actually took the winter and worked with a trainer just to do winter track, just to try to get form back. I really wasn't 100%, and that propelled me into the my senior year baseball season.
So the question is, why Fordham?
Well, at the time, a lot of schools were still, let me see how you finish up. Let me see if you're going to be okay. And I will tell you, Fordham came and said, listen, we can't promise you're going to play baseball, but we definitely want you to come here and play football. I knew some friends in the area that were playing at Fordham. And I said, you know what? That's okay. I'm okay if just playing football. So once again, I came here. Larry Glick was the coach, and other gentlemen recruited me, and I just felt the sense of home. I really felt that I could come here. I could play. I could maybe play right away as a freshman. But when I got to campus, I didn't have a baseball glove. I didn't have cleats. It was 100% football.
Really? You had no equipment?
Nothing. It's a funny story. A good friend of mine today, Jim LaRose, who was the equipment manager at Fordham, how it began to play was winter months like this, January, February. I was coming out of the locker room and getting ready to go back to my dorm room. And Jim said to me, he goes, if I were to have you play baseball and introduce you to Coach Gallagher, Skip, would you want to play? And I said, I would, but I'll be honest with you, I haven't touched a bat or a glove in a year now. So he's like, come with me. I'm going to walk you down to Lombardi Center. I'm going to introduce you. He goes, now he's a tough guy. He's not an easy guy to deal with, which everybody knows Skip, at the time. And it's had to be 6, 7 o'clock at night. We went down and he knocked on the door, and there was Skip sitting there, and Tony Malachi at the time, who was a longtime Fordham coach who still helps out. And he goes, I heard that you could play baseball. And I said, well, yes. I said, I did get, many baseball offers in high school before I got hurt. And he said, if you were to come with us down to Florida, you're never going to play. But if you do, would you be okay with possibly joining the team if the players like you and you want to play? And I said, I would love to, but I said, who's going to speak to Larry Glick and Coach Glick and other people? Because I'm here to play. I'm here to play football. And he said, I'll talk to Frank McLaughlin. Don't worry about that. Would you want to play? And I said, yes. So I was like, wow, that was weird. I went back to my dorm room. I called my parents. I said, I have a feeling that I might be playing baseball too. And this was 3 weeks before spring training. We were going down to Florida. And I called Jim LaRose and I said, Jim, I don't have spikes. I don't have a glove. I have nothing here. And he goes, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Just make a commitment and we'll try to make this work. But so essentially, I guess I would be considered a walk-on and on the baseball team.
Do you remember your first day ever on campus?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I came, I believe it was during spring week at Fordham. And if anyone's ever been on campus during spring week, there's a lot of stuff going on. Many of the students outside on Eddie's parade and walking around. And I got here and I'm like, this is how college is all, all the time. And I stayed with a good friend of mine who recruited me. And I stayed the weekend at Fordham. And once again, I had no paid visits left. All of my visits, I already took my sophomore year in high school to a lot of big schools. So when I came to Fordham, it was kind of like, hey, I got a day here. The NCAA at the time gave you a certain amount of schools you could visit, and I spent one day at Fordham, and it just kind of really felt like home.
Had you ever been to the Rose Hill campus before?
No, I haven't. Just hearing though from my dad and my mom who grew up in New York knew a lot about Fordham, but that was my first time on campus.
And which school were you in?
I was an economics major in Fordham College. I guess now that's considered Gabelli School, but I was at Fordham College.
Did you know what field of study you wanted to pursue before arriving at Fordham?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to do something business related, business sports related, I would say. And, I try to, get myself in a position to, to be able to handle that field after school, etc.
Favorite subject, least favorite subject?
Favorite subject, I would say, in any kind of banking course, money in banking, different things. Least favorite subject, I would have to say art.
Was there a professor, Mike, who inspired you and made a lasting impression?
Um, thinking back, you know, I wouldn't say so much professors. My life was kind of crazy on campus in the fact that I was always running around between football, baseball, but there were so many people in the athletic department that helped me out. They knew kind of I would start my day at 6:30 in the morning for study hall, and then breakfast, classes, football room, back to the dorm room, come back for baseball practice at night. I mean, my life was really hectic. So there was a lot of people in the front office, in the athletic department, I would say, that really helped me along and got me to, the help I needed to really excel.
Did you have a fondness for any particular building?
Love Keating Hall. You get an energy when you're in the building that, it's really, really something special. And for the parents of students right now whose kids are playing, I think my dad uh, discovered the Fordham luxury box. He would tell people all the time. And I said, well, what's that? On days like this, February and March, when you're playing on campus, my dad and a couple of fathers on the team at the time would go to the third level of Keating Hall and open up the windows. And it was like a luxury box overlooking Jack Coffey Field. So it was their way of, bringing food to campus and watching a college baseball game without sitting in, 40-degree weather.
Where do you live through the years?
Yeah, so freshman year, Alumni Hall. That's where I met some, the best friends of my life. My dorm room, my freshman year, there's still probably 10 to 12 people that lived on the same floor that we talk on a weekly basis.
That's
Uh,
wonderful.
Martyrs Court, sophomore and junior year, same crew from freshman year. However, that's when I became really close with, guys like Joe Morhead, who was a dear friend of mine till today, lived upstairs. So, then senior year, Walsh Hall, and all of us kind of moved up together and really had a great experience.
You were very busy, but did you have a favorite hangout?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously for us, to be honest with you, we would always start the weekends together on campus, and whether in one of those buildings, and obviously off campus, there's numerous places to eat and go out at night. But really, it was just wherever you know a group of friends would decide to spend that weekend.
Uh, how was the cafeteria food?
I didn't mind it that bad. Like I said, you know, really for me, I was only there one time a day because it was very, very hectic. But I enjoyed the time there. They always had food ready for us, uh it was a good experience. And then we always had downstairs to go to in case we wanted something different than the normal meals.
Did you work any jobs while you were at Fordham?
No, just as I say, the job of baseball, baseball and
There
football.
was no time.
Yeah.
You played 2 years of football at Fordham. You started as a wide receiver, as a sophomore, with Joe Morhead at quarterback, and as you said, that relationship continues, that friendship continues till today.
Yeah, Joe is a really good friend of mine. And what people don't know about Joe Morhead is his senior year, he actually came out for the baseball team. I convinced Skip to say, hey, you know what? This guy could throw. We need a lefty pitcher. And he actually got some innings his senior year on campus. And I talk to Joe regularly. He's got a wonderful family now out in Ohio as a coach at Akron. And you know, I you know, I caught my first touchdown pass from Joe. I'll never forget at Dartmouth. And once again, we've stayed close throughout the years, throughout my pro career, and then watching him obviously have success between Fordham, Penn State, Mississippi State on up. So
Yeah.
became very, very close friends along the way.
But Mike, what a grind for you, being up at 5 o'clock in the morning and juggling two sports is even more difficult.
Yeah, I will say, baseball is tougher. Baseball was actually tougher than football, not so much on the physicality, but people don't realize if you're a student athlete for baseball, we would practice at 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning on weekends. So we would have to be up in Lombardi Center, turning the lights on. We would practice from 6 o'clock to almost noon, eat as a team, Saturdays and Sundays. And then when classes started, you had to have all your classes done by midday because games are in the afternoon. We didn't have lights at the time. So you were playing 2:30, 3 o'clock home games. So really your day would end up 6, 7 o'clock at night. That's if you didn't have to commute back to campus on a road game. So, long days. And then obviously you have to figure out a way to get your classwork in and your studying.
Uh, During this time, was there anybody who came to you and perhaps wanted to discourage you from playing the two sports?
No, there was some tough conversations that had to be made. And one day I think back and I realized was probably one of the craziest days of my life, which I realized I had to make a decision sooner or later. We had a new coach our sophomore year. Nick Quintero came in, who was wonderful for me, and he helped me juggle everything. But I'll never forget this. We had our spring game for football. We would play over at DeWitt Clinton High School at the time, which is down the street from Fordham, and we had a double header on campus against Navy. So Gallagher would say, "Well, where are you going to go?" And I'm like, "Well, Skip, I'm here on a football scholarship. I got to play in the I got to play in the spring game." So one of the craziest stories. I go to the spring game. This is my sophomore year. We're playing in the morning sometime, and this is like the big event for football, like to get ready for the season. And during the middle of the spring game, uh, a member of the athletic department and one of the trainers says, "Hey, you have to leave at halftime." I said, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Gallagher needs you back to campus. They're in a tough battle against Navy, and you might have to play." So they drove me back to campus. And crazy story. Jim LaRose took me back to campus. I had to change, throw on a baseball uniform, and I got in the sixth or seventh inning against Navy on campus. And next thing you know, I'm pinch hitting in a game. And it was such a whirlwind to me that here I was starting the day with a football uniform on and then finishing the day on campus against against Navy. When I ended that weekend, I honestly, after that weekend, said, "I don't know if I could do this anymore." And I had a conversation with Skip, and he said, "Look, you're probably going to get drafted. If you take the next 2 years of your career and really focus, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but it'd be a good idea to consider making a decision." And I went home after that season, and look, I had a tough conversation with Coach Quintero at the time, but I knew my decision was made, that I couldn't do this. I couldn't do this all 4 years.
And when you went to the baseball game and played, you still had your eye black on, right?
I don't remember that, but I can remember thinking, "I can't believe I'm at the plate right now," at an at bat. I think I want to say it might have been the Patriot League. One of the Patriot League championships. The Navy was here on campus, and it was so surreal. I can't even tell you.
How'd you do? Do you remember?
I remember getting on base either by an error or a hit, and then I had a score from second base on a base hit late in the game. That's all. That's all I recall.
Junior year, you hit 335, a school record, 16 home runs, and most college players get drafted after the junior year. Tell the story about waiting by the phone for 3 days.
Well, interesting, right? So that year, you know, it was a great year. We had a good team, and you know, at the time, that was only my first full year of playing baseball. So thinking back when I would meet with a lot of teams with Coach Gallagher, that was the first thing he would bring up. Well, he's only been playing full time a year, so I think in his heart of hearts, he said, "I need him to come back for one more season." But that draft, I had great workouts with teams. They knew I was healthy with my knee, and things were falling into place. But a lot of teams felt,
Whom did you
hey,
work out with? Whom did you
oh
work out
God,
with?
over 10 teams probably. Or, I was in the draft for most of the teams, but a lot of people said, "Hey, listen, if you don't, uh, go, early on in the draft, maybe it does make sense to come back a senior year." And to be honest with you, I wasn't sure what to do. I wasn't my skills in baseball still weren't fully honed in because I didn't really. It was my first full season of really doing one sport full time. And so I went home. I kind of knew what was going to happen in the draft, but I played in a wooden bat league, a national wooden bat league that summer, and really put things together. And that's when the calls start coming in. Maybe you should transfer to, Florida State. I mean, I was playing with kids from, all American type players all over the country, and they said, "Hey, you should transfer your senior year." I'm like, "No, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving Fordham." And after that summer, I had a really really nice summer playing, and I felt going into senior year like maybe I shouldn't be back. Maybe I should have gone into the draft my junior year, but it all led up to, an amazing, amazing senior year.
How does one hit 493?
I still think about it like was it a dream? I'll give Joe DeBarry might remember this, but before the season started, they posted their preseason All American team, and our senior class, that baseball senior class was stacked with players, JD Drew, Lance Berkman, Tim Hudson. So really, as a Northeast team, when you start the season, you're not really playing. Most teams are, it's not like now where Coach Layton's traveling now. They were down in North Carolina and now away this weekend. We didn't really play our first game until teams had um, 10, sometimes 10, 12 games under their belt. So I
Right.
got a call from USA Today, and they said that JD Drew at the time had 12 home runs for Florida State, and Lance Berkman was up there as well. I haven't played one college game yet. So in my mind, I said, I got to do something, early on here. We got 10 games to start the season down in the South in Florida. I have to try to, you know, put some numbers up here. These guys are already,
Way
they
ahead.
have more home runs than 90% of the country right now. We haven't even played a game. So I was very focused. We went down to Florida, playing, all the top teams down there. And when I came back from that trip, I think I hit it had to be either 9 or 10 home runs in 12 games. So when I came back, we were all tied. And that from there, I said, okay, we're in a, it's I'm very fortunate that I have now a ton of games left. And that's when, I didn't want to let up. The college baseball season is only 90 days. So you have 90 days to make it happen. And Ed, I swear it was like no matter what happened, you know, I just was trying to get focused every at bat, and um, God bless. It was a crazy 3 months of a season.
And you went about completely obliterating the Fordham record books. And Coach Gallagher said this: in 35 years of coaching, I've never had a player hit with this much authority, unquote. And to get you more exposure, he bat you leadoff.
Yeah, well, what was happening was everyone was pitching around, started to pitch around me, and he's like, "I'm going to bat you lead off." And we had, I mean, if you look back at those teams, we had phenomenal. That my junior senior year, the lineup was incredible. We had guys batting eighth or ninth with 20 doubles. So Gallagher felt, hey, if I could keep him batting leadoff, you only bat leadoff once a game, and we had tremendous guys around me that got on base, and I believe that year I always said I gotta get out early because I'm probably only gonna see 1, 2 pitches in at bat. And I believe that senior season out of the 20 whatever 29 home runs, 8 home runs were hit or 7 home runs on the first pitch of the game. So
Wow.
it was basically get what you can. And but yeah, you can't pitch around a leadoff batter. You don't want someone to get on. And then we had a powerful lineup but behind me.